to move in a specific way, our security team will direct you. So we have plans in place in case of an emergency to be able to keep everyone safe. There was already an announcement, but I'll say it again. We have a medical tent, so if for any reason you're feeling lightheaded, faint, even if you just want to be in the shade a bit, just to get out of the sun and there's no space in the seated areas, please make your way over to the medical tent. There's also a water station next to the media tent as well. And I have a couple of community agreements that I'd like to go over very quickly. That we ask everyone here to follow, just to keep each other safe. We have a commitment to keep each other safe. So as an organization of Japanese Americans, we are here to make the link between the World War II concentration camps and what's happening today around immigration, and that is where we invited you into this space to help us to get that message out. We are committed to non-violent direct action, and we ask that you help us maintain a non-violent space. We prioritize the care and thoughtfulness of our elders and people with mobility challenges. So please, like I said, keep the walkways clear and be thoughtful about our elders and their ability to see and participate. We have additional chairs further in, so if there are any elders or folks with mobility challenges where it would make a difference to have a seat, please use those chairs. We ask that everyone here speak to each other with respect, and if that is not possible, to err towards silence. And if you witness any harassment or anyone, like I said, the police or ICE, please do not escalate it yourself. Find a security person. We also ask that folks, if they have any substances or things, to keep them on their bodies. We are not trying to, we want to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe and not engage with any police presence. And we also ask that people do not have any weapons on them. So thank you again. My name is Becca, and I think we see security as a commitment that we have to each other. So look around, see who's standing next to you, introduce yourself, pay attention to them. This is the community that we are building to keep each other and our neighbors and friends safe. So thank you so much for helping us out.
Tracy.
Thank you, Becca. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I see a big crowd over here on the left. If everyone doesn't mind just scooting a little bit over this way towards the street, that would be amazing. Thanks, Casey. Okay, everybody move over this way. We're in front of the speakers area. Thank you. And also try not to block the pathways if you can. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. We're here today because for generations, immigrants and refugees have built vibrant communities in the Bay Area. Now the regime wants to turn FCI Dublin, a prison recently shuttered for rampant sexual abuse and inhumane living conditions, into a mass incarceration center for immigrants. The opening of an ICE detention center in Dublin will enable ICE to jail over 1,000 people abducted from the Bay Area. Parents, aunties, uncles, children, neighbors, and friends. It's up to all of us today to stop that from happening, so thank you to everyone for being here. We have a very powerful lineup of speakers today, but first I'd like to invite Rebecca from East Bay Sanctuary up for a land acknowledgement.
Yay, Rebecca.
Rebecca, are you here?
Going through crowds. Hi, how are you? You all know Michelle? Hey, how are you? Yes, nice to see you. Hello, I was gonna hug you. Nice to see you. I saw. I'm Richard. Yes. So I saw Brian. Michelle. And I know exactly. And I was going to try to. I just barely understood. I don't know if you guys have ever had the good fortune to meet my constituent. It's against everything. Yes, he came in with an ice to the council the other day.
We acknowledge that we are here, currently residing on the unceded land of the Ohlone people. We gratefully acknowledge that the Ohlone people, whose ancestral homelands on which we gather, as well as the diverse and vibrant Native communities who make their home here today. We also would like to acknowledge the many indigenous communities who have been forced to migrate to the U.S. from Latin America and around the world, many of whom are part of our communities. We encourage all of us to learn more about indigenous groups who have historically and currently live on the land we occupy and offer reparations. Thank you.
Amen.
Hi, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I can't hear you on the street. How's everybody doing today? All right. So I am your chant leader today. My name is Kim Miyoshi with Japanese American Families for Justice. We have some great art in the back. If you didn't get a little patch that you see people wear, feel free to go check that out. Okay, what's our first chant? Here we go. You know this one. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. Okay, I know we can do better than that on the next one because it's got the same tune. There's no hate, no fear. ICE has no business here. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. No hate, no fear. ICE has no business here. No hate, no fear. ICE has no business here. No hate, no fear. ICE has no business here. No hate, no fear. ICE has no business here.
Now we'd like to bring up Stacey Stubb from Detention Watch Network, representing the ICE Out of Dublin Coalition. He's here to give context about the national landscape in fight against immigration detention. Stacey is the program director at Detention Watch Network, a national coalition building power, collective advocacy, and grassroots organizing to abolish immigration detention in the U.S.
All right, can folks hear me okay? Yeah. Are we fired up? Yes. Are we fired up? Yeah. I can't hear you. Are we fired up? All right. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, my name is Stacey. I work at Detention Watch Network. We are a national coalition with over 100 member organizations across the country working to abolish immigration detention in the U.S. Right now, ICE is trying to reopen the shuttered Dublin prison for immigration detention. I am proud to be here with Tsuru for Solidarity and ICE Out of Dublin Coalition to demand that we do not want ICE in our backyards, not in Dublin, not in the Bay Area, and not anywhere. Dublin prison was shut down last year because survivors courageously spoke out, organized and exposed systemic staff sexual abuse and crumbling infrastructure like mold and asbestos. Immigrant women were targeted at Dublin specifically because of their immigration
status. And Dublin survivors continue to fight. You'll hear from our next speaker on how survivors continue to advocate for justice with the Dublin Prison Solidarity Coalition. Northern California currently does not have immigration detention centers because communities here successfully organized to end immigration detention here. We've done it before and we can do it again. And across the country, communities are fighting to protect our immigrant neighbors and friends. Trump administration is using every tool at their disposal to target, detain, and deport as many people as possible in every area of public life. We are repeating some of the most shameful moments in U.S. history. Student activists have been targeted for detention and deportation because they advocated for a free Palestine and against the genocide in Gaza. The administration invoked the Wartime Alien Enemies Act to indefinitely incarcerate hundreds of Venezuelan community members under the guise of racist narratives about the war on drugs in a mega abusive prison in El Salvador. The law was last invoked during World War II to incarcerate over 120,000 people of Japanese descent. This cannot stand. More and more people are being made deportable by ending their immigration status. And of course, Florida State Governor used emergency funds from FEMA to build tents and cages on the Everglades in what looks like a concentration camp, disturbing the delicate ecosystem in the Everglades on the sacred ancestral lands of Miccosukee and Seminole tribes. Mass detention and deportation mean more and more black and brown people are racially profiled because of the color of their skin. Day laborers, street vendors, massage parlor workers, and so many others have been torn away from their loved ones, away from their community. People who've had contact with law enforcement, people who have served their sentence, who are ready to come home, have also been separated away from their loved ones. We have to fight for everyone. When we begin to carve out some people as deserving of incarceration and deportation, we open a door that's now been blown wide open by this administration. $150 billion have been allocated for mass detention and deportation by this big, ugly bill. This makes ICE the largest federal law enforcement agency in the U.S. and its budget is now bigger than most countries' entire military budgets. We are in a historic moment. Immigration detention is the testing ground for authoritarianism. $45 billion have been earmarked to massively expand immigration detention so that they can detain over 100,000 people on any given day. This astronomical expansion comes while more kids will go hungry and more people will lose their health care due to hundreds of billion dollars in cuts. There are now nearly 60,000 people in ICE detention right now. It's a historic high. And as a result, people in detention are enduring horrific conditions, including lack of food and medical neglect. These conditions will only get worse as ICE detains and deports more people. What we do here in the Bay Area matters. Blocking detention expansion matters because detention facilitates deportation, separates people away from their loved ones, and coerces people to stop fighting their deportation. When ICE doesn't have a place to cage people, there are fewer ICE raids and fewer ICE arrests. Look around you. We are not alone. We are strong. We are powerful together to take action, and we invite you to join us in this struggle for liberation. Please join us at our upcoming community call to learn more about how we can take action together. And I want to close out with a short chant. Repeat after me.
I
believe.
I believe
I believe that we.
I believe that we
I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Because we're here today to disrupt historic cycles of state violence, it's important to know the history of FCI Dublin. I'd like to bring up Marissa Secco. Marissa is the Family Violence Intervention Unit Manager for the Family Violence Law Center, supporting many currently and formerly incarcerated survivors of abuse at FCI Dublin.
I am here representing the FCI Dublin Prisoner Solidarity Coalition, and I work for the Family Violence Law Center, which provides crisis support and legal help to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault in Alameda County. My coworkers and I have had the huge honor of providing dedicated, confidential, emotional support and court accompaniment to survivors who were incarcerated at FCI Dublin. I am also the descendant of the Japanese American internment after my grandmother's family faced a similar injustice to what so many immigrants are facing now. They were ripped from their homes, their businesses, and their community and sent to an internment camp in Gila, Arizona. My grandmother was only 7 years old at the time, but she and the rest of her family were deemed potentially dangerous traitors who deserved to be held behind barbed wire based on nothing more than their ethnic background. As a kid, my grandma and my great aunts told me stories about what it was like losing everything, how desolate, dusty, and dirty the camp was, being crammed into small barracks with other families with very little privacy, sharing very few bathrooms, and eating poor rations at the mess hall, and how they had to put the feet of the beds in buckets of water to prevent the desert scorpions from climbing up and stinging them in the night as they slept. Supporting the survivors from FCI Dublin, the conditions they described reminded me of the legacy of what my family endured during the internment. I've worked with survivors for over 15 years, and I've seen and heard a lot that has been heavy during that time. But the level of cruelty, injustice, and inhumanity the survivors from FCI Dublin experienced truly shook me and the other seasoned advocates to our core. Just when we thought the stories we were hearing could not get worse, every day, supporting these survivors, we heard new, horrifying examples of how extreme and pervasive the systemic injustice was. It's hard to measure which aspect of the prison was more destructive and toxic. The black mold and the asbestos all over the facility, the outrageous levels of medical neglect, or the trauma and abuse systematically perpetrated and reinforced over and over within those poisonous walls. While the way in which FCI Dublin closed was further traumatizing for many survivors, and they continue to face great retaliation at new facilities, closing this prison was still an important victory for our movement for justice, equity, and freedom. In the words of Kendra Drysdale, an FCI Dublin survivor and advocate with the California Coalition for Women Prisoners, one of our key demands as survivors of the extreme abuse at Dublin has been for the permanent closure of the facility. Reopening the prison where black mold and asbestos were quite literally making people sick, and locking up non-citizens there would be deeply cruel. End quote. In the last several weeks, we've been seeing the images from the new ICE detention facilities the Trump administration is opening, which look strikingly similar and sometimes even worse than the Japanese internment camps from 1942. Men, women, and children being forced into literal cages and denied their rights and their dignity all over again in a disgraceful replication of the mistakes of our past. And And we also know that the abuse and injustice when FCI Dublin was still operating as a prison involved the intentional, directed targeting of immigrant prisoners because they were particularly vulnerable and isolated. According to Amy Chavira, another FCI Dublin survivor and advocate with the Dublin Prisoner Solidarity Coalition, at FCI Dublin, non-citizens were specifically preyed on by staff. And we have every reason to believe that ICE would carry on that tradition of abuse, retaliation, and medical neglect. The prison was closed for good reason and should remain closed. Anna, an immigrant survivor of abuse at FCI Dublin, who was held in ICE detention following her release, stated, like so many other immigrant women, I survived staff abuse at FCI Dublin. A guard targeted me because he knew about my immigration status, and he assumed I would be deported and he would never face any consequences. After I was finally free from the hell of FCI Dublin, I was taken to another hell, a private ICE detention center. I am finally home with my children and trying to heal from what the US government did to me. I don't want anyone to live through what I lived through in a BOP prison or an ICE jail. FCI Dublin must stay closed forever. It is hard to keep going and to watch cycles of harm replicate themselves again and again in this country. But I also am constantly buoyed up when I witness the bravery of FCI Dublin survivors speaking their truth and advocating to end the harm. And when we attend protests like this one, where we're all resisting with one voice, saying no more, never again, close FCI Dublin forever. For that too is carrying forward a legacy of the folks who stood up against the internment all the way back in 1942. I will leave you with a poem that my great-grandmother, Masa A. Wada, wrote during her internment as a beacon of inspiration for her fellow incarcerees at the time, and which still resonates with what we face today as we carry on the fight in the coming months and years. Waves rolling over the Pacific Ocean, we came over to Gila, far away from home. Giant cactus stand dauntless, the deep green, everlasting. With this spirit, with these aspirations, live boldly with ambition. Praise the fortitude, praise the fortitude, praise the fortitude. Looking up to the sky, tonight is clear too. A serene mind in the plains of Gila. The stars twinkling across the sky. Distant on our path shines the light of hope. Enduring hardships, we should live until the bell of peace finally rings. Look to hope, look to hope, look to hope. The floating mirage, the symbol of the ideal, if we cultivate with high spirits, an abundant crop shall fill all the fields. Rouse yourself, fellows, proceed resolutely, and thus build the land of our ideals. Reclaim the wasteland, reclaim the wasteland, reclaim the wasteland.
For uplifting the stories of survivors of FCI Dublin. Now we're going to have a brief Taiko interlude during which we'd like to invite one person from each of our endorsing organizations as well as any elected officials that are joining us today. We'd like to invite you to hang Tsuru on the rope over there as a ceremonial reminder of lives lost in immigrant detention. The Tsuru symbolize peace and justice, and today we hang them for each of the 70 lives lost in ICE detention since 2017. If you are a representative of your organization or an elected official, please come up with your string of Tsuru now. Please come up to the rope that's hanging to the right of the stage.